Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today, snaps, time to talk about Eddie Jackson. So let me get on my soapbox for a little bit, real quick, because people gotta understand this. I'm a football fan and a Bears fan. So just because I'm a Bears fan doesn't mean I'm not going to call it like I see it. And that doesn't mean I'm just going to slurp up a player just because they're a Bears player. But with that being said, because we got to set the record straight, because some people have been coming at me since last year about Eddie Jackson, and I'm going to have to just correct you a little bit. Again, last year we did player spotlights, might do it again this year, who knows. But when it came to Eddie Jackson, all I basically said was that I don't think he is or he was as good of a player in his rookie season as everybody hyped him up to be. And my point was that based off what he did. And so people tried to flip that into, oh, you hating on Eddie Jackson, all this stuff. You saying he can't be good. I rated each player and I said he was a young piece to build around. If I didn't think he was any good, especially as a lower round pick, I wouldn't have said that. So obviously I thought he played pretty well and had potential. The fact that he even started all the games was way past what I expected him to be. I thought he was just going to be a special teamer based off how he played coming out of college. And so acknowledging what he was good at, talking about what he could get better at, and then waiting to see how he did in his second year. Now, of course, when it hasn't happened yet, people bark the loudest. When people end up being right, they bark even louder. Or I guess not the loudest, but then they bark louder. And then when they're wrong, dead silent. So it's easy to puff the chest out when they're wrong, but they disappear. Or it's easy to puff the chest out when you're right and they disappear. That's fine. I stand by all my stuff. I evaluate players. I stand by everything that I say about a player at that time, and I admit when I'm wrong all the time. And so for people trying to act as if they knew what Eddie Jackson's going to do, they got to stop. Because the fact is, he was not a first-round safety for a reason. The fact is, he was more known for punt returning than he was for playing defense. The fact is, he's a converted receiver, and that even Nick Saban himself felt that he was more worried about having the ball in his hands than playing defense. And as that point, I said as a prospect before we even drafted him, he's all potential. And when we got him, I said, this is an athletic dude with all potential. He hasn't had any type of skills added to his play as a safety. And so when you sometimes get a good player or a lot of talent, and you put them in the right system or you put them in the right locker room, you get with the right coach and they say, I need you to just focus and do this. And sometimes that can go a long way. And I think Eddie benefited from being in our locker room. And so then this year he turned it up and showed that he could take that leap. And so there it is right there. So, I mean, he had 3 interceptions last year. The fact that 2 of them were tip passes. And then he had a fumble that was just dead sitting right there against the Panthers. So 2 touchdowns in one game. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about he's all-pro. Eddie Jackson this year is all-pro. Eddie Jackson rookie year, he was good with some potential ahead of him. And people tried to play that as if I was hating. But anyway, all that to say, we're going to now get into Eddie Jackson because some people think I have a issue with Eddie Jackson or something, which makes no sense. But anyway, here we go. We are going to look at some interceptions, incomplete passes from this year, and it goes backwards in time, like I said. So I think this is week 15, it said. And so I'm going to guess Eddie Jackson is playing deep middle. And then this is, of course, like a Hail Mary situation. And so, I mean, Hail Mary situations kind of give me, but looking at his ability to time that, because that could have been a touchdown. But look, he goes up higher. He goes up earlier than Devontae Adams and still gets higher than Devontae Adams ever gets. So you see the explosion. You see the ball skills, the timing, and that's what we're talking about. Like I said, a former receiver, a good punt returner, a guy that has hand-eye coordination. That's what we like to see. Now, is it a consequential play? It could have been, but really, Hail Mary type, not really. And so you really just seeing kind of the athletic ability right there, which is good. I mean, it's hard to find those plays coming out of college because there's no all 22. And so it's nice to see those. So anyway, Eddie Jackson's right here, playing the 2 deep. And really, again, I say this all the time, when you get into the end zone, it's a lot harder to throw because it's a lot less space. And so he caught an interception off a tip pass. We'll kind of see what happens. So yeah, that's broken up. That's a tip. Safety being over the top, being in the right place. I remember he kind of hurt himself going down on that. And then he ended up being out after that, which kind of sucked. But so we got another Hail Mary situation. Eddie Jackson just playing over the top, playing deep center. And again, ball skills, explosion to go up, hands to catch it, eye coordination. So we've seen kind of 2 Hail Mary situations so far. Moving on to the next play. This is 3rd down and 4. So Eddie's not the deepest safety. Looks like he's playing man coverage. Either he's playing a man or a short zone. But based off no safety over the top of Fuller and Fuller being down, I think it's man coverage. So anyway, looks like they had a little communication problem. Sitting flat, soon as breaking on the receiver, he breaks, drives on the ball well. Same thing I talked about with Kyle Fuller, the ability to break down and drive on the ball. That's what you're really looking for, because change of direction is not something that every player can do coming out of college. In the NFL, that's where you get better athletes that can do it. And so any slower athlete doesn't make it to that play enough time to break it up. They probably make it there to make a tackle, but they don't break that pass up. So 3rd and 10, we got 2 back. Eddie's watching the quarterback's eyes all the way. And this is something I wonder about. I'm sure he has the freedom in the system to do it. But this is something I wonder about, kind of with those double moves and stuff. Like, he's a ball hawk. He wants to jump that pass. And so he has speed. And so what you see is he doesn't really even backpedal. He's deep already, of course, but he doesn't really backpedal because he feels like he could catch up if this guy goes vertical. And Kyle Fuller's taking him vertical too, so he's got a little room to kind of spy. And that's exactly what he does. Watches the quarterback's eyes, breaks on the ball with enough contact to make it an incomplete pass. And we'll watch that full speed from Jared Goff's perspective. And again, I mean, when the quarterback throws it before a defender breaks, they expect one thing, but when a defender can break that fast and get to the ball, it changes things. So Eddie gets sucked up, and this is kind of what I'm talking about, which is really nice. Eddie gets sucked up on the play action here. And it's plays like this that give him that confidence because you watch how he recovers. So I'll go back a little bit. And so I'll leave it at full speed, but Eddie gets sucked up on a play action. He's playing deep, so he recovers right underneath that flag and is able to make a play. Now, is it the best that he's out of position? No. But when you see plays like that, that's when you know you got a special player, because really, corner is about speed and quickness to stay a receiver. Safety is about speed and quickness to have range. More so quickness and speed, but quickness to cover from hash to sideline or from the middle to sideline. It's all about that quickness. And Eddie has it. As I said, he was a big-time athlete, more than he was a defender, which is the case for a lot of college players. And so we see him break up that pass. Again, watching the eyes, he's got Fuller down to kind of almost, I wouldn't say a quarters coverage, but kind of like a quarters coverage where the safeties have more flexibility to jump routes because quarters is basically 4 deep. And so since Fuller's taking him deep, he knows that once this guy goes short, Fuller's still over the top. So he's got help deep, which means he can play more aggressively. And he's just watching the quarterback's eyes and driving on the ball, being an athlete. And so we'll watch it from Stafford. Again, expects to fit that in there. All right, so Lions again. Eddie Jackson's he's actually the down safety right now. So so it's kind of a disguise coverage. I like it because I love it when it works. It's kind of a disguise coverage where it looks like a cover 3, which it ended up being technically. Well, it was a cover 1. Sorry. Looks kind of like cover 3 because you got one safety playing low. And then as the snap, he starts creeping up with the linebackers. And that's perfect timing because you have to practice that in practice as far as timing the blitz. And so now Stafford's feeling like, okay, maybe these two are coming and Eddie Jackson's coming because he's creeping up. But it's not really a green dog because green dog is you blitz. And if someone goes flat, then you take them. I think he wasn't blitzing the whole time. I think he 100% was taking man coverage. And so at the last second, he goes and takes the man coverage. Stafford doesn't see it. Once again, thinks it's open. And Eddie Jackson with the speed to close. That's all it is, man. Great athleticism. Great timing, knowing his job. And that's what I think he's big at. Because, again, 3 interceptions and 2 of them are tipped to you. I was like, okay, it's not like he forced interceptions. I want to see him take that leap. And this year we saw him take that leap. Stuff like that, that's easy. And so when you get an athlete that's trusting what the coaches is telling him, trusting what he's seeing, these are the results you get. So we'll go through that again. See what we got. So we got 2 deep. None of these routes are pushing vertical. And Eddie, I mean, I would say by the quarterback's eyes, I wouldn't say he knew what the play was, but he saw the quarterback getting ready to throw. And so by the receiver speed, he knew it had to be an in-breaking route. Either way, whatever his key was that tipped him off, you can see he's going to break on this route before the receiver does. He's already moving towards the flag. And so it could be the route concept that he recognized, similar to like we saw with Fuller. It could just be the quarterback's eyes that he saw, or his arm, he saw him getting ready to throw. And so he broke on it. Either way, he knew what was coming. And he beat the receiver too, ran the route for him, and became a returner. Love it. Absolutely love it. And that's the tough part. So this is 3rd and 13. Tough part is sometimes you just get athletes that don't want to study and become football players. And they can get by on that. But when you get athletes that want to become football players, that's when things like really get good. And so again, this might even be a man coverage, but either way, the corners are not playing. They're not moving. They're sticking with their receivers. So that gives Eddie a little more room to be a spy. And you might have a cover 2 spy, cover 1 spy, whatever, where you just letting Eddie kind of play the ball, which is interesting because I think some people think of Eddie as more just like the deep safety like Earl Thomas, and that's not exactly what we're seeing. I see a lot of times they let him just, okay, that was it. And so I see a lot of times where he just pretty much is playing the middle of the field. Let me make sure that was definitely not it. All right, so let's get back to it. I hate that. It does that sometimes. Not sure. I thought that wasn't it. So, sorry about that. All right, here we go. So let's play we already saw. Moving on to the next play. Eddie Jackson is deep middle right now. Playing middle of the field. Breaks towards the hash. And again, that range. And really, I would say using the quarterback's eyes, which is kind of dangerous. I mean, people play this differently. When I play any type of cover 3, cover 1, single safety stuff, I have rules on where to cover. But it looks like Eddie's just kind of watching the quarterback's eyes and seeing where he wants to help at. And once he sees the quarterback cock his arm again, Eddie breaks on the ball and just the range. I mean, because again, you can have guys that can recognize that throw and they could move and, towards the receiver, but they won't have the speed to get there. Eddie has both, and that's when you see things really working. And these are the big time plays. Like I was saying, I want to see him be able to make his deep coverage more impactful. And he did exactly what I was looking for. So this should be the last one. And this is Eddie deep middle again. I think it's just an incomplete pass. But we'll kind of see what Eddie does. So Eddie is deep middle right here. Starts breaking towards that way. Now that receiver had the angle on him, but still enough speed to get there to affect the pass. And I'm telling you, if you put on the tape, especially in college, like I don't know, I just don't think safeties are coached well in college. Most safeties cannot make this play. They cannot make it across the field to then break up. Like that was darn near perfect timing actually. And so what you get is a guy like Adrian Amos, who I think is a great safety, but a different safety. He can't make those plays. And so for a while, we only saw Earl Thomas making those plays. Not say he's Earl Thomas, but his range is ridiculous. And so that's kind of it. And this was a 2-for-1. I forgot to mention this. This is kind of a 2-for-1 because I'm starting the All-Pro series too to break down all the All-Pros. So Eddie Jackson was All-Pro and he's a Bear. So boom, 2-for-1. There you go. Anyway, go to comment sections. Let me know what you think about Eddie Jackson. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around. Remember, stay up and bear down.